E1 versus S1, the age-old question. Guys, maybe Gacha Claus just came riding down on his sleigh with his band of not reindeers, but credit card companies. Guys, you might now have money to make that choice. E1 or S1 for Fugue. She is the not dead Ting Yun. She's been brought back to life surely by Ruan Mei. So you have now decided to pull E1 or S1. So you want to know which one's better, right? Because obviously the credit card companies give you a limit for a reason. So with that limit in mind, let's go ahead and talk about which one is better or if you should pull for any of these altogether. So let's go ahead and get into a breakdown of first what they do and then your pros and cons and their difference between both there. So let's go ahead and start off with E1 first, guys. E1, guys, literally gives your target with Foxy and Prayer increased weakness break efficiency by 50%. Now, something to keep in mind here, guys, this is who you're putting your skill move on. This means if you're running her in certain teams, you're not necessarily putting this skill on your main DPS. Normally, in most teams, you'll probably be putting this skill on your sustain character so they can target every single damage type on the field. If you have Rop on your team, she's probably hitting all damage types regardless. If you're using her on a team with Firefly, you're probably hitting all damage types regardless. The only teams I could see you using this on would be teams like Acheron or teams like Boot Hill or maybe some of those other niche break DPS like Hinako, Jouei, or something like that, right? But for the most part, on the most meta teams or the team that Fugue's going to be ran on, you'll be putting this Foxy and Prayer buff on your ally that is your sustained character. So keep that in mind for E1 as we hop into what S1's going to be doing now, guys, because S1 is also very, very strong. Because at S1, guys, she is going to be getting increased break effect by 60% here, which is absolutely massive. Not only is she giving herself 60% extra weakness break, she'll be putting basically vulnerability to break damage on the enemy, right? So if you take a look at someone like Topaz here, right, which gives a very conditional 50% vulnerability on the enemy to follow up attacks, this is going to be doing the same exact thing, but for break damage. And this can also stack up to 2 times. So whenever an enemy target gets weakness broken, you have a 100% chance to inflict this. If you have her built correctly, then you don't have to really worry about the 100% base chance there. But essentially, this is going to be putting a debuff on the enemy, which makes them take 18% more damage with 1 stack. And at 2 stacks, that's going to be around 36% more damage. So that's going to be a pretty massive increase there to the amount of damage you're able to output, considering she's also going to be able to apply an 18% defense shred on enemies as well. So this does mesh up really nicely with that light cone to do a massive amount of damage for any break character on your team. So with that out of the way, guys, let me give you the base value of what both of these things are going to be doing. So the base value of this, guys, is going to be just a general solo break efficiency increase, guys, where the base value for the light cone, guys, is going to be break vulnerability increase, increased break effect for the wearer, which is basically a free stat you're putting on the wearer there. So overall, what I would say the better base value here is going to be towards the light cone. Now, the reason I say it's towards the light cone is because, first of all, like I said, giving you break vulnerability, which is absolutely massive and will help out every single one of your break DPS in your team, versus E1 here, guys, which is basically just a washed down version of what Ruan Mei is able to do just for 1 target here. But the big thing with this, I think you're going to get more versatility out of this, because the really big thing with Fugue, right, is you don't necessarily only have to run her on break team. So if you're not running Fugue on a break team, the base value, I think, for this is actually higher than what you would get out of this light cone. And the reason I say that is you're not running her on a break centric team. Maybe you just pulled her, you're a new free-to-play player coming to the game, and you don't have a break team for her. This could be very good to giving someone else on your team increased weakness break efficiency. So I do think that this one does hold quite a bit of versatility, but I think the overall power, the power hour, and where her niche is at, I think overall base value, guys, I think this one wins. I think the light cone wins in overall base value because for the most part, you're going to be using her on break-centric teams. That is what she's meant to be used on, right? She has 2 weakness breaks, so that means you basically get this up for basically free, right? Because you get 1 stack per break. With the exo toughness she's putting on the enemy, essentially, you're getting that break off of 1 enemy. So you don't necessarily even have to worry about there just being 1 boss enemy on the field, because with her here, you're still getting both stacks of that break vulnerability up, which is just going to be overall very massive. Not to say that this doesn't work, but for the most part, you're not going to be using the skill on your main DPS. It only works for the DPS like we mentioned earlier in the video. So that kind of leads me into our second point now of who it can replace, right? In quotation marks, okay? I don't really believe this can honestly replace anyone, but I feel like it can get close enough with certain characters. It can somewhat replace Ruan Mei, right? So, I mean, the reason why I can do that, guys, is because you're applying the 50% weakness break efficiency to 1 ally. And if you know anything about what Ruan Mei is going to be doing, guys, she's going to be increasing the weakness break efficiency of all your allies 50%. So, I mean, this is going to be doing the exact same thing as what Ruan Mei would be doing, but for one ally. So that can already be put on the table, right? This allows your sustain or DPS to do more weakness break efficiency, and that's who would be quote unquote replacing, right? Now let's talk about what this light cone can replace right here. So this would technically be replacing your GACHA, right? So your big J, it would be replacing your Foxian man, right? Because this is going to be giving you that vulnerability like GACHA is able to do, and then also increase the user's break effect, which also makes her easier to build. Now, which one has a bigger impact, right? Because there is one that definitely has a bigger impact. So genuinely, guys, I do think that this E1 here does hold less value than a lot of people might think, because while you might say, oh, whoa, weakness break efficiency is really huge, because really the only other person that can do that is Ruan Mei, right? But I think Ruan Mei holds much more value in certain other fields, right? If we take a look at Ruan Mei here, she's going to be providing, first of all, 10% speed to your team. She is also going to be providing all type res pin to your team, which also is going to be increasing your damage with break as well. Then she'll be giving 50% weakness break efficiency, which is given to the whole team. And then finally, she'll be giving 20% increased break effect for all allies as well. Whereas the only thing that this is doing, like I said before, is only giving you increased break efficiency on one character on your team. So realistically, this doesn't hold that much value if you were to, like, you can't really go into a scenario. There's certain scenarios where you could and go say, hey, I want to replace my Ruan Mei on this team with Fugue, right? Because then you run into a situation of, okay, well, let me put this buff on Rappa, I guess, to give her increased weakness break efficiency. But Rappa already is going to have, like, the weakness bypassing whenever she's in her ultimate move. And if she's already doing weakness bypass in her ultimate move, that would mean that you're going to be losing out on that effect you put on your sustain character, which could be helping you do more toughness damage to the enemy. But then you're also losing out on the extra weakness break efficiency for someone like your Rappa. So, I mean, what way do you go about it, right? I just don't think that overall this holds much value in who it can replace, whereas I feel like the replacement cost here is a lot slimmer. Now, the reason I say it's a lot slimmer is because realistically, the only thing that GACHA is doing, guys, is, like we mentioned, the multiple things that Ruan Mei does. GACHA is only going to be giving you that damage vulnerability. Now, I'm not saying at all that the damage vulnerability that he is able to provide to the enemy that you're targeting and attacking is bad by any means. I'm just saying that this gets you to an okay level of that without actually having GACHA on your team, whereas I feel like you're missing out on a lot more if you don't have Ruan Mei on the team when you're running this idol on here, versus if you're running this light cone here and you don't have GACHA on the team. I feel like you miss out on less. It's also giving you free stats like I mentioned before. And then, not to mention, she has defense shred in her kit, so this will already be pairing really well with this vulnerability here too. So this means if you're replacing GACHA, you're getting free defense shred from her kit already, so you're getting a huge damage multiplier. So if we quickly look here at the super break damage formula, which for the most part, this is what is mainly going to be affecting, right? You're getting this defense multiplier right here, right? Because she's getting this from her skill. Whoever's attacking the enemy is going to be putting defense down the enemy. You're also getting vulnerability here as well. So you're hitting two of these extra nodes here, whereas weakness break efficiency or toughness reduction goes into this multiplier right here, which is a lot lower of a multiplier to be hitting versus that of getting the defense and vulnerability there. So overall, I do feel like this is a better replacement for GACHA than this is for Ruan Mei, and in that sense, I do think overall this does hold more value in that sense as well. So with that being said, guys, we've went over the fact of who this can replace, who this is good for, the base value of both of these, which one should you be pulling for, right? But wait, pause, stop right there. I have to scam you really quick and tell you to subscribe to my channel, because before we get into the main bread and butter of why you came to watch this video on should you be summoning for either of these things that you want S1, hit the subscribe button, gamers. A lot of work goes into these videos. I would love it, and maybe Gacha Claus will put you on his nice list, and he'll bless you this holiday season. So hit the subscribe button now, and let's get into which one you should be summoning for. I think it's pretty obvious. I think that S1 here is by far and away much better. Now, with that being said, should you be pulling for E1 or S1? Genuinely, I don't feel like she needs either. I think she'll work fine just without either of these two right here, because if we're talking about replacements for both of these characters and what they can use for alternatives here, E1, you would run Ruan Mei, right? Or you could just run Harmony MC on the same team and kind of have like a decent effect there. Overall, she's still able to provide a lot for your team, for break-oriented teams, without E1. So, I mean, like, even if you don't have Ruan Mei, I feel like it's going to be fine with that E1 S1. Same thing can be said with this as well. If you don't have GACHA, I mean, this is a huge buff, right? Much bigger than what I would say E1's going to be doing, but S1's not even necessarily going to be a must here either, because you could run a lot of other things here, right? If you want to get free stats and increase your break effect, right? You can run things like Solitary Healing, which is a completely free-to-play hard-to-shop lightcone. It's going to be increasing your break effect by 40%, which is fine. I mean, you're not getting the other two things, but fuck it, who matters? Why is it? It doesn't matter, right? Secondly, guys, you could run something like Fermata as well, which also is going to be giving you a 32% increase to your break rank effect. So yet again, another free stat. And something that I feel like maybe some people aren't mentioning, you can also run Resolute Shines of Pearls of Sweat, guys. This is going to be giving her a debuff on her basic attack. So if you're running her on an Acheron-esque team, this is going to be yet applying another debuff to the enemy that you're able to actually charge up her ult with. Not only this, guys, the defense shred you're getting from this is also going to be compounding with the extra 18% defense shred she's getting from putting the defense shred from her skill on your enemies as well. So this is compounding really well with that, which increases your overall break damage. Like we mentioned before, guys, it is going to be increasing the defense multiplier to the target, which is absolutely massive. So guys, with that being said, I don't think you need either of these. If you're gonna pull for one though, I would definitely recommend S1 over E1. My general opinion on that. Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. Anyways, guys, that's the end of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because please do. We're in shambles. I'm broke. It's the holiday season. Gotcha Claus is coming to town. He's coming for the credit card companies, and he's gonna make you bankrupt. That was cringe, but see you later. Bye.